Hi, guys, and welcome back to episode 12 of Let's Talk About It 803. Guys, I'm so excited today to have the beautiful Yvonne Frierson here today with us. Welcome, Yvonne.
Thank you. Thank you.
How
Hello.
are you?
I'm pretty good. And yourself?
I'm good. So, guys, Vaughn is here today to tell such an inspiring story. I'm going to let her talk. I'm not going to talk because I can't tell her story. But Vaughn is a domestic violence survivor, and she is here to tell her story. So, welcome, and thank you for wanting to share this story.
No problem. If it can help anybody, I'm there.
Right,
Mhm.
right. So, you ready to tell us?
Yep. Yes, ma'am.
And who is Yvonne? Let's go with who are you?
So
Introduce
I
yourself.
am a 34-year-old entrepreneur. I am a teacher. I am a customization person. I make custom shirts and resin items and things like that. So anything that I can use my creativity, I'm gonna go ahead and do it. I love kids, animals, and people.
Amazing, amazing. So Yvonne, you reached out to me and you wanted to tell your story to the world, which is such that's some strength right there. You know what I'm saying? Because I got bits and pieces of it, but I really do want you to share it with everybody because you
Mm-hmm.
don't know whose life you may touch, you know?
I
So
know.
when you ready,
All right.
I'm
So
ready.
yes. All right. So growing up, my mom she was always in a domestic violence situation. So growing up, that was normal for us. The toxicity, the fighting, I believed that was normal. I thought that was a part of every relationship. And so that's how I lived. So when I met my ex-husband, it started off with the isolation. And so when I mean isolation, I mean would try to get me from my friends, try to keep me from going to my friend's house as much as he could. I'm
Right.
from Indiana,
Okay.
and so I don't have any family here in South Carolina, any blood family here in South Carolina,
Okay.
um, which he knew, and he kind of preyed upon that fact because he knew I couldn't just up and run to my mom's house or my dad's house if I needed.
Right.
Um, if I did try to go see my sister or my friends, he would have an attitude. He would make it seem like it's so inconvenient for him that I want to get out of the house and just be around anybody other than his family.
Right. Ooh.
It started off with just pushing, and he would apologize for it.
Okay.
And me being the person that I am, I like to see the best in people, and that could be a downfall at times if
Yes.
people take advantage of that.
Yes.
And
Absolutely.
so I'm like, well, he didn't mean it. I wouldn't tell anybody. I kept it between myself because I know that I wasn't. While I was in it, I did not look at it like it was domestic violence.
Right.
I looked at it like it was completely normal
Right.
because that's what I grew up in.
Okay.
So to see a man put his hands on a woman, that was normal to me because that's what I saw my mom go through with my
Right.
dad and
Mhm.
the guys that she dated afterwards. So for a long time I was just in denial, like, no, 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 he was just mad, or he
Right.
didn't mean it, or he
Right.
was drunk.
Right.
That was one of the excuses
Making
because he did
excuses.
drink a
Yeah.
lot.
Mm-hmm.
And try to just see the best in him, like he could change. He would say, I'm not going to do it again. And me being me, I was very gullible, and I really believed that everyone could change at that point. And
Right.
so I really went into it thinking that, okay, well, it's not going to happen again. It's not going to happen again. Um, he had hit me while I was pregnant. I was ready to pack up my things then and leave. But the fact that I did not have a good support system, I will
Right.
call it that.
Right.
It kept me in it a lot longer. There were not any bars on the window or locks on the door to keep me in there or anything like that. It was more a mental game. So if
Right.
you leave, ain't nobody gonna want you. You got two kids, and would try to make me seem less desirable than what I was.
Mm-hmm.
I'm the only person that's gonna want you, just making sure that he keeps me about this big to where I don't realize my worth so he can continue to manipulate the situation.
Right. Right.
Um, let's see, it wasn't until probably when I got pregnant and I had kids, I had my first son,
Mhm.
to where he was doing it in front of my son.
Oh.
And I remember how it was when I was growing up and I saw my mom going through that.
Mhm.
And I see the lasting impression that it had on me as a grown up.
Right.
And I'm like, well, I'm not going to do this to the kids. You know, we need to sit down and we need to talk about this because this can't happen. This can't
Right.
continue to happen.
Right.
So at one point I was doing really good financially. I had 2 jobs. I had just bought my own trailer.
Right.
Everything was looking like it was going up.
Right.
He convinced me to quit both of my jobs, sell my trailer, sell my car, so we could go to Colombia. So he can get this job that he was promised supposedly.
Right.
And me being me, I was like, well, you know, maybe this is the fresh start that we need. You know, I'm gonna go ahead and do it. Once
Right.
again, I still had no support. I had no one around me to where if I said, well, no, I don't want to do this, you know, I don't really have blood relatives that I could reach out to and try to get some assistance from.
Right.
So I ended up moving back to Colombia, left everything behind, and I ended up getting jumped by his mistress and her entire family. I have never been in a fight in my entire life.
Wow.
I've always tried to be the diffuser, you know, like if there's a conflict, I'm trying to resolve it because I'm not that person. I'm not a fighter and I will never pretend to be a fighter.
Right. Exactly.
Right before the situation where I got jumped, we had sat down and we did have a talk maybe like a day or 2 prior to that,
Right.
stating that we no longer needed to be together because we had gotten so toxic to each other, and I can admit that I was toxic as well. I had a lot of unhealthy coping mechanisms and unhealthy communication skills.
Right.
So seeing my mom always be ready to fight, you know, and with her mouth and, you know, her actions, I thought that's how I had to portray myself. So that's how I was living.
Right.
And so I do admit that some of the times I was the instigator in it. So I'm not going to put 100% blame on them because I was just, you know, I was toxic in my own ways.
Okay.
We did sit down and we agreed that this was not going to work, that we needed to go our separate ways. And then 2 days later, I ended up getting jumped by his mistress.
Oh my God.
How I got over there, the lady lived around the corner from me, and I let people get in my head and pipe me up and say, girl, go get your man. Even though I know that was not a man worth fighting for.
Right. Right.
And I still went around there, got jumped, first fight I've ever been in my life. And that kind of opened my eyes a lot because I could see where everybody stood in that situation.
Right.
And so, yeah. And so, I told myself that I was going to leave and I was going to move back to Indiana. And I did.
Right.
As I moved back to Indiana, it was extremely hard. I left with my 2 children and myself. I had maybe one outfit that I was going to bring with me. We moved up to Indiana. I started working again as a teacher. I got back on my feet. I was able to go to therapy, which helped me tremendously.
Yes.
I did not know how bad that situation had really messed me up. And so being able to just be able to get back on my feet and see my value and my worth and realize that I am worth it and I don't need that type of person.
Right. Right.
Baby, I moved back to South Carolina, started teaching again, got my own house, met my husband, my now husband, who is the complete opposite of my ex-husband.
He's amazing.
And he has shown me that the toxicity, that is not the way to go. You can have somebody that loves you tremendously,
right?
To where you don't have to give. Love does not have to be painful,
right?
It's not what I was taught, but I can see now.
Right.
I was extremely blessed with the man that I got, and he has helped me to continue, because it's still a process, but to continue to better myself and get out of my negative, toxic ways. And I just want to let everybody out there know that if you have no support, it does not matter. You can still go. If you feel like that I've gone too far, I wasted too many years with this person, I wasted 8 years and I thought that was a lot, and I'm like, no, no, no. You can start over. It is never, ever, ever too late to start over.
Never.
Reach out to somebody. I do wish that I had reached out to someone, because now that I know I have, even though I don't have blood family here in South Carolina, I do have friends that I consider my family, and they would have been there like, in a heartbeat. So never look down on somebody because they just don't leave their situation, because it's not always as easy as just getting up and leaving, because it's more of a mental thing. And you have more support out there than you realize. You may not know it. People may not let you know, but if you reach out to someone and let them know, reach out to me, reach out to Cece, just let anybody know there are resources that will help you. And I'm very glad.
There are many resources. I didn't know that at first either, but therapy is for a lot of things, a lot of things. So, with that being said, there is a lot of help out there.
And we put the kids in therapy. I did not realize that it affected them as much, because they had memories from before I thought they could remember things, but therapy has helped them out tremendously as well. So it's not always you're crazy, go to therapy. It's really healing, and it can really help you get back to your natural self. And now I'm back to my natural, happy self. I have not been able to be this person since I was young. So the fact that I'm able to be goofy and laugh and have a good time and enjoy my life, like, this is pure happiness for me. This is the perfect life for me. So I'm just letting people know that it is possible. It is possible. Just put your faith out there. You have to make that first step. Once you make that first step, everything else will come to you.
Yes, it will. So can I ask this question? And if you don't feel comfortable with answering this question, you can always stop me. But with the beatings and with the different things going on, how did there was a situation you had gotten into, and I don't know if you remember you and I talking about that. How did you get out of that situation? Well, we're going to take a quick break. We're going to take a quick break, and we're going to come back so you can answer that question. Okay. All right. Thank you, Yvonne. We'll be back, guys. Hey, guys, and welcome back from our break. We are back with Yvonne Frierson, domestic violence survivor. So, Yvonne, let's go off about where we left off. I asked the question about, how did you handle ends? When did it get started? The major, beating.
So the major started after I had kids.
Okay.
So by the time I left, my son was 1.5 years and my daughter was 10 months. So that span of time, it got really bad. His drinking had increased. His insecurity was out of this world. Have you ever heard of guilty conscience, where they're doing something and they just know that you're doing something? And our whole 8-year marriage, he cheated. So that was a constant thing. But on top of that, it was constant accusations. And if you ever cheat on me, and he used to tell me all the time, if I ever cheat on him, he would hide my body. We lived in the country, so there were a lot of swamps and things like that. He was like, oh, well, I know tons of places where I can hide your body if you ever decide to leave me or take my kids, or, so it would be constant little things like that to make you think, well, I know he's not mentally stable, so I don't want to really test that theory to see if he will go through with it. But that was a constant for 8 years. He would always just casually, we're driving past, and oh yeah, I could hide your body right there, no one would ever know.
So and I'm just like, when he's saying this, how are you feeling? I mean, what's going on in your mind?
I don't want to try it out. So even though I do want to leave, I knew that I didn't have, or what I thought, I didn't have that type of support to where they could keep me safe from him. So I knew that my best friend, she didn't have her own house yet. So if I go to her mom's house, now I'm bringing my drama and potentially my unstable husband
Right.
to your doorstep, and I don't want to drag anybody else in. So I
Yes.
didn't know if he would hurt anyone, because there's tons of stories out there where they've killed the mom, the
Right.
daughter, just
Yeah.
anybody that's around the kids.
Yes.
And that was a huge thing. And so I didn't want to leave until I knew that I was actually able to really get away and he wasn't going to be able to follow me.
Right.
Um, the incident where I got jumped by his mistress, 2 days later, um, he accused me of cheating again from an incident from 2 years prior that we had already squashed and
Right.
determined
Right.
nothing there. So
Mm-hmm.
he came in one day and said that you got to get the hell up, excuse my language, you got to get the hell up out of here. And he said, you know what, never mind, I'm going to send you home to Jesus. And so he got on the phone with his brother and asked him where Granddaddy was. Granddaddy is what he named his sawed-off shotgun. And so he's like, oh, well, Matt, where's the sawed-off shotgun? Where's Granddaddy? And
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, oh. So his brother told him it was outside in the shed. So he proceeded to go outside to get the shotgun,
Mm-hmm.
and I locked the trailer doors.
Yes.
Um, he didn't have his key on him at the time, so he wasn't able to get in. I let him know that I was calling the police,
Right.
because I really felt he had his new mistress thing. I really felt like he was going to go ahead and go through with it, because he's never taken it that far to where he went to go get a gun. If
Right.
it was anything, we would fight. He would hit me. I would defend myself, and we would just be
Right.
fighting. And then I would
Right.
leave, come back, and just things like that. But it's never been this serious. So when he said he was going out to get the shotgun, locked the door, called the police. Police came out in about 15 minutes. He took off walking, so they could not locate him.
Right.
And they advised me to get out of here, go somewhere. And because they could not locate him. So
Mm.
the only thing I knew to do was go hide in an empty trailer. They were renovating a lot of trailers in the area.
Right.
And so I grabbed the kids' double stroller, since I had two toddlers at the time.
Right. Right.
In the stroller, couldn't grab clothes. I didn't think that was going to be my last time leaving that house, but that was my last time stepping foot out of that house. Was when I got my stroller, pushed them to an empty trailer, sat in the empty trailer for a couple hours with the kids until my other best friend was able to get off of work. She got off of work and took me to Motel 6. My family and friends got up money for us to stay in the hotel for 5 days.
Mm-hmm.
And then my dad and my uncle was able to get up enough money to get me a plane ticket with my kids.
Right.
So, excuse me, right before the shuttle came to pick me up to take us to the airport, he showed up because he was supposed to be bringing the kids items.
Right.
He brought some little clothes that they could not fit that were for newborns. So it was just a useless visit. He did watch us pull off in the van. So I did have my friends with me, so I was not there by myself. I did not agree to meet up with him by myself.
Good.
In a public place. So we ended up flying to Indianapolis. That's where I'm from. My grandmother, she was nice enough to let us, move in. She had empty rooms, so me and the kids stayed in her empty room for about 3 months.
Okay.
And I felt like that was the only way that I could really get away from him, because I know if I stayed in South Carolina, I was going to go back.
Right.
Like, even with the threats and the violence and everything, it hadn't clicked yet.
Right.
So I was still, and so when I moved to Indiana, I was mourning the loss of my marriage. I was like severely depressed. It was just, I'm living in someone else's house now. I'm so used to being in my own, but I knew that was the only way that I was going to be able to get through it and come out, and I have to go through it in order to get the result that I want. So, there were a lot of uncomfortable times where it would have been a lot easier to just say, okay, I'm taking you back, and then go back to what I know. But I feel like I moved all the way to Indiana. There was no way in the world that I was taking you back, because I went out of my comfort zone. I'm a country girl, and I got to move back to the city, to make sure that I can get over you.
Right.
So the first year I was up there, I was very proud of myself. I got my own apartment. I started working as a teacher. everything started to look up. I was doing really good. And then I got diagnosed with some health complications,
Okay.
probably resulting from the domestic violence incidences.
Yes.
And so I had to have brain surgery. And I was going to be out of work for about 3 to 5 months. And I needed help. So I had, in my mind, I had to reach out to him to see if he could come up there and help me out. He got up there, did the same thing that he did down there, except up there, they took it a little more seriously.
Right.
So we had a domestic violence incident. They came out, they took pictures, they talked to the kids, they took pictures of the house. I went and stayed with my grandma for a few days because he had a key to my house. I didn't know when he was coming back.
Right.
They caught him back at my house. He did rob my house, him and his friends. So all of my things that I had, slowly built up from Salvation
Right.
Army, I was very
Right.
proud. They
Yeah.
went and trashed everything.
Wow.
So it's like I had to start over again, but he
Right.
did get arrested.
Okay.
So that did make me feel a lot better.
Mm-hmm.
Then they wanted to drop the charge. I mean, they wanted to lower the bond because they said that he didn't have enough money to get out. I had asked them to do one of those monitoring GPS bracelets.
Yes.
Or anklets. They agreed. They put it on, and he still harassed me. As soon as his family came up and bailed him out, he was driving past my house. He was banned from my neighborhood. I had a restraining order on him. I had things in place to try to keep him away from me.
Right.
It was his duty to drive through. He would blast his music just to let me know that he was still close enough to touch me if he wanted to. And that was very nerve-wracking. I did not leave my house for months. Wow. Because I knew that even though I'm up here with my family, he's still mentally unstable. He knows where I lay my head. Right. So after that, the judge asked if he could take his GPS monitoring thing off and move back to South Carolina. And I was explaining to them, well, when he had it on, it wasn't keeping him from, coming to my house.
Yeah.
Daily police calls. I had a whole case number with a lot of incidences because every time he came by, I'm like, well, it's supposed to set off some type of alarm, and it did not. And so I'm like, well, he can go ahead and take it off and move back to South Carolina. At least I'll know he's in South Carolina. Right. So once he moved back to South Carolina, I was able to breathe. Right. They had a CPS worker come and contact me, and they told me that because the incident took place in front of the children, that she was going to be reaching out. So when she reached out, I was like, oh yeah, I talked to her. She came and talked to the kids. Right. And then at the session, she let me know that he had called and tried to get the kids taken from me and said that I was abusing medicine and I'm trying to kill myself and kill the kids. And I don't think it did not click for me until that moment when he tried to take the kids from me, knowing that I'm all the kids had. Like, that's the last little piece of feeling bad for him or sympathy or empathy or anything that I had in a way with him. And so once I burned that thread, I haven't looked back since. I saw that, you have no problem taking the only thing that I love, which is the kids, from me, and you have no, the kids would be traumatized from this because they don't know anybody but me. So the fact that you were able to do that just lets me know there is no more room for any type of anything. And I was also, while I was out of that relationship and dating, I was seeing that people putting your hands on you is not normal. So, me thinking that this is normal, I'm like, oh, so people do have happy relationships. Oh, and I'm like, nobody that is that happy. And I start seeing a lot of people that were truly happy, and I'm like, oh, this is giving me hope. So then when I met my husband, I was like, okay, this is, but the whole time I was still responding from my trauma. So like if my husband did something, like he could say something very, very simple and I'd be like, you don't love me anymore, and he'd be like, no. He said, I would never do anything to hurt you. I would never do anything intentionally to hurt you. So if you look at it that way, that is not my intention. And he, he still has to remind me, just because I was beaten down verbally so much, that my husband now has to build me back up and just, because my mind has tricked me into thinking that I'm not worthy, that I don't deserve, happiness, I don't deserve love. But my husband is doing a really, really, really good job and showing me that. And it is amazing to see that I have been able to find myself in all of this, because I just knew that my little goofy, weird self was, just stuffed down somewhere, screaming to get out. And I got out, and I've been shot bright like a diamond ever since.
Wow.
I have stopped all communication. I have not communicated with him in about 4 years.
Okay.
He did try to do a visitation, because he found where I lived. And they served me papers. We tried to do the temporary order. That went good for maybe a month or two, and then he went right to what he knows, like standing the kids up, not showing up. And I just keep a very detailed record of it. So if he does bring it back up and try to do it again, I can, this instance that it did not work. I did try to, when we did go to the visitation hearing, I was trying to explain to the judge the reason why I stopped, the kids from going over there, because of the dangerous situation. And he had a lawyer and I did not. So his lawyer tried to make it seem like I was lying. And I'm like, well, I got my paperwork. Like, his Facebook statuses, messages from him that he's text me, inbox me, and I always kept a digital record. And that's another thing. Make sure you always keep physical proof or some type of digital proof, because it is extremely hard to get a restraining order in the state of South Carolina. They want something to have already happened before they jump in and do anything. So he threatened me again a few years ago, and I didn't take it, I took it serious. I went right down to the police station. They said the only way they could do that is if they give me one and give him one. And that was fine with me, because I wasn't trying to contact him. Trying to get a restraining order, they want an incident to already take place. You have to be able to prove that that person was in the vicinity to be able to hurt you. And it was just a lot. And he was down there for bike week or something, but I had a post on his Facebook to prove that he was down there for bike week to the courts that he was in the area at that time. So got that. I don't communicate with the family. It's a lot less toxic. The kids have thrived with my husband now, my current husband. They have come out their shell. They have been able to be sensitive and open without fear of retribution and getting yelled and cussed at and things like that. And so same way that I needed to heal, they needed to heal as well. And so it's a journey. But once you get into therapy, oh my gosh, I can't even explain what therapy did to me, but it was able to really open my eyes to say, okay, well, you are worthy, no matter what your brain tells you. You don't deserve this. That's because your mind, your mind will convince you that you're at your burden or things like that, and that's not the case. And so you have to be able to not listen to that and just go out on your first step or reach out to somebody. I never knew, one more thing, I never knew that there were a lot of programs for domestic violence women. So they have shelters where you can take your children to, and they have 24/7 security. They have codes at the gates. No one's allowed in. Like, it's very, very locked down to keep them safe. And had I known that prior to, I would have taken advantage of that when the very first time I got here. But I didn't believe that there was any place that I could take my kids to where I would have been out of his reach. But once I saw the amount of resources that they do offer to women, they offer housing, so they can put you up in housing apartments. You don't have to pay anything. They can come and get you if you need that type of service. So it's a lot of things out there that I wish I had known that I know now. So now whenever I tell my story, I let other people know. So if they're feeling like they're trapped in a situation that they can't really get out of, or they're worried about, well, I'm not going to be able to support myself. Well, you don't have to worry about supporting yourself. You can go ahead and get out, and they will help you. They will help you with a job. They will help you do your resume, and things like that, so where you can get on your 2 feet and be completely independent of him or her,
Right.
and not be able to feel like you have to depend on that person. So
Right.
tolerate and deal with the abuse just because you feel like you don't have anywhere to go and you don't have anywhere to turn. It is always somewhere out there to turn. And I am one of those people that will tell you that it is possible. So,
So with that, Yvonne, is there a light at the end of the tunnel for this?
oh yes, oh yes. It's the biggest light ever. You see this smile?
Yes, I see that smile. I
Yes,
see.
yes.
Yes. So what would you say to anybody who's going through domestic abuse or domestic violence right now? What are some encouraging words that you can give to them right now?
Go ahead and leave.
Yes.
There are resources that can really help you out.
Yeah.
Don't I don't want to say don't let your fear stop you because that's kind of cliche, but
Right.
there are ways where you can safely make it out, you, your children, and you don't have to look back. And it is possible. It is possible to find love again. It's possible to be happy again. It's possible to get rid of the toxicity 100%.
Awesome. Vaughn, thank you so much. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you so much for sharing your story. I was trying not to cry, but I tried to wipe the tears, But thank you for sharing that. That's very inspiring and it's deep, And
if I can help one person, and I've actually helped a few people that I never knew were in that type of situation. And every year I'll post my story on Facebook, and I'll get an inbox from somebody that I never knew was going through that, and they was you helped me leave my marriage. And there was even a grown woman who's about in her 50s that reached out to me and let me know that my story touched her and helped her get out of her situation. So just that's one person that you can help.
One person.
Worth it.
Yes.
Oh my, can always learn from your story.
Yes, Vaughn, this is so amazing. Thank you again. Thank you again for coming through. Guys, I want to say thank you for tuning in to Let's Talk About It 803. This is our 12th episode. But guys, please don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel and always hit that notification bell for more notifications. Again, guys, we'll talk soon. Thank you.